Hello, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to be talking about goals. I mean, I'm always talking about goals, but to sit here and talk about my goals. First off, I'm doing these videos a little bit differently this quarter. So for the last couple of years, ever since I started planning or doing quarterly goals, which I have talked about that at length in a number of videos. I'll try to find one to link for you below if you're curious why I set quarterly goals in addition to obviously annual and then monthly action steps. But since I started talking about quarterly goals, I had always separated out my quarterly goal check-in video with my monthly goal check-in video. And for whatever reason, that just made sense in my head. But then last quarter, when I was filming these videos, I was sitting here recapping my Q1 goals and realizing that it didn't make sense that I hadn't recapped March yet. Like the order of things just didn't make sense. And so I'm trying something different this month or this quarter, and we're gonna see how it goes. So in this video, I am going to start by recapping June. I'm gonna share all my June action steps, how they went, which ones I did, which ones I didn't, etc. And then I'm going to reflect on Q2, both my personal and my business quarterly goals. I don't do monthly updates on my business goals. I may change that up a little bit. We're gonna talk about that in the next video, but I'm just going to recap my quarterly goals for Q2 and share how they ended up. And that will be this video. The next video that will be up in just a couple of days will be going through my Q3 goals for both personal and business, and then my July action steps. I think that will just make more sense, but we're gonna see how it goes. So let's jump into talking about June. The day that I'm filming this video is Tuesday, June 18th. It's a little bit earlier than I typically like to film my goal check-in videos, but based on where the days of the month fall and the fact that we're going to be traveling, it is what it is. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to be working on my June goals for the next 12 days of June, but it does mean that I have already thought about my action steps for Q3 and for July. So let's start with the one-time action steps. The first one was to take a dance class, and I'm just really proud of myself for prioritizing this. I almost took it off. We have had a very busy June and it's still not over, and there are limited options. The dance studio that I have found here in Chicago, especially in the summer, cuts back a lot on their adult dance options. And so the options for my level, my style were very limited. And I was hesitated to even try and follow through on this. And then finally I was like, you know what? No, I put this on my goals. It is something I want to prioritize. So I had a conversation with my husband, we made a plan, and I was able to go take a Broadway jazz style class. We did a piece to Chicago, and it was just so fun to get back into the dance studio, and just like, it brings me a lot of joy. So that felt really good. The next one-time step on my list was to do one adventure from my list of Chicago things. And when I put this on my June action step, and I talked about this a little bit on a live last week, if you don't know, I do update you on my goals every week as part of my live chats. So even if you're not interested in the topic of that chat, or you don't like the format of a live Q&A, if you are interested in a regular weekly update of my goals, like I literally take a picture of my goal sheet that morning and share it, you can jump to the time section just about my goals. So I kind of already told the story in one of those lives, but to quickly recap, when I said that we were gonna go on one of the adventures in June, we had company coming 3 times. And so I thought, of course we're gonna go do something, right? We're going to go on one of these things on my list. And the first set of company that didn't really pan out, just because they also have 2 young kids and the girls' nap schedules were just kind of like the complete opposites. So it was really tough for us to make like an adventure that wasn't close by happen. And then our next set of company was this past weekend. My in-laws were in town, and we did go do some fun stuff, but it was none of the stuff on my list. So does it really count? I don't know. We did go on some adventures, but it wasn't the kind of bucket list items that I have put on things I wanted to do in Chicago. And I say bucket list, we're not going anywhere anytime soon. I just wanted to start working on this list. But we didn't do any of those things, so I didn't check it off. And then the company we were supposed to have this weekend actually canceled, and it's also Pride Fest. And that is where I want to spend my time this weekend, not going on something else on my list. So I'm likely not gonna check that one off this month, and that's okay. Like, I don't feel like I'm failing at that goal. I will talk about this a little bit more in the quarterly section about how I feel about the progress on that goal overall. The next one was to do 12 monthly tasks that one I have made progress on. I am on pace to finish them by the end of the month, but as of June 18th, I haven't finished them all. And then the last one was to make a plan for a cleaning routine. And I have done that one and I feel really good about it. It is very simple. I am keeping things simple for now, but I feel good about the plan that I made. Moving on to the weekly steps. So the first one was about my goal of working out, and it was to work out a certain number of days each week. And so far, so good. The last 2 weeks I've hit it, and I'm on pace again to hit it this week. At first, if you watched last month's goals video, I regretted that I didn't put workout multiple times and just put days on one row. And because that worked when I was also tracking it in my daily, but I took it off of my daily in June. And so I kind of was like mad at myself for not putting it there. But it has been going well. What really has shifted for me with this goal is not putting a time on it, not having a time minimum, focusing on the habit and the routine of it being consistent and not worrying about the length of it. Even this morning, I was like, I had planned to do a much longer workout and I was like, you know what? That's not the priority. Length and minutes are not the priority. Consistency and doing it is. So do a 10-minute workout and that's it, like that counts. So I feel really good about it. This is one of those action steps that is not going to get carried over into future months, right? This was a quarterly goal, was to focus on working out and get consistent with it, but it's not going to get carried over to Q3. And that doesn't mean that I'm not going to work out, right? Just because it's not on my goals anymore doesn't mean I'm not going to do it. It's one of those things that I feel like I did a good job of prioritizing it, and having it on my goal planner helps me prioritize it and it helps hold me accountable, but then I'm still going to keep doing it. It's one of those habits that I wanted to instill. It doesn't mean that it's going to be perfect forever. It's possible that I'm going to need to bring it back on my goals at some point if I start to fall off. But for now, I feel really good about that one. Kind of a spoiler ahead to the quarterly section. The next 2 weekly items were my monthly and my weekly tasks. And I talked about this at length in detail in a live. There was a whole live topic about my monthly and weekly recurring tasks and what they are, how I incorporate them, all that jazz. This has worked so well for me, this system. Even though I didn't check them all off, obviously that first week I didn't hit the numbers that I had picked. Overall, as a system, it feels really good. And then the last one was to use my air fryer. I also talked about this on a live. I'm not trying to make this a plug for the lives, but it is a more real-time place for me to update you on my goals and talk about my goals. So on a recent live, it was actually last week from when I'm filming this, but I'm gonna link it for you if you're interested with the timestamp. Somebody asked me about this goal, and I kind of went on, not a rant, but like a stream of consciousness about why the action steps that I chose for that goal didn't work, and why I had to change it up, and what I was learning about that goal. And I'm not gonna go into it here because otherwise this video is gonna be forever long because of everything that we're talking about. So I'm gonna link that if you're interested in hearing about that goal in total. All right, moving on to the daily items. So the first one is my Instagram limit. And it's not going great again. I didn't change it, like I didn't lower it. So why am I struggling with it still? I don't know if it's just, there's been a lot going on this month and scrolling on Instagram is very much a stress reliever. I don't know if it's not helping that I feel like I'm in kind of a boring section of my book and I don't want to like get off Instagram at night and like switch over to my book. I don't know, there could be a lot of reasons, but I did the math and so far this month I have hit it 60%, which is not terrible. It's not zero, but it's also not as good as I have kind of want this goal to be. I talked about this in an earlier month this quarter about how I really don't care about what the number is. I care more about the consistency and hitting it and not overwriting it. And so I'm wondering, do I need to increase it again for July? I'm going to continue the next couple of weeks. Again, it's only the 18th with where it is in June, but spoiler alert, it's on my July list too. The next one was to go through photos. And even though I didn't do this every day, I did it most days and I am feeling good about that progress. It is nowhere near done, like not even close, but I think by not putting a number on it, and I talked about this last month, it has made a difference and I'm able to actually follow through on this goal. I also included it both in my morning and my evening routine. That way, if I don't do it during my morning routine, then it reminds me again to do it in my evening routine. Or truthfully, some days I do it both times and I just don't put pressure on how much I'm getting done because there's no number. And so I'm making good progress on that. The next one was my PM routine, same thing. This one feels really good about especially compared to last month. I carried it over one more month to try and really solidify it. And no, I didn't do it every day, but I don't expect to do it every day. Even the days I do have the check marks, guess what? I'm not doing every step every single day, but I am making it a priority and at least clicking play on my routine app so that I kickstart that routine and that habit. And then the last one was to read before bed. You can see that this one did not go well for the first week of the month. Again, I felt like I'm still there, I feel like, in this lull of a book, but I really, starting in week 2, turned on the, you only have to do the 1 chapter mindset and focus on that 1 chapter, and then you can switch to Netflix, which is what I have been doing. But I'm still glad that I am prioritizing this, and I know that it helps me relax at night. All in all, I feel really good about June. Have I checked everything off? No, but do I ever check everything off? No, but I have checked a lot off, and with everything that we have had going on outside of this piece of paper, I feel really good about the progress. I also still have 12 days technically left in June. I probably will not focus on my goals through the end of the month. We are leaving on the 26th to go out of town. So wherever I'm at on the 26th, that will be the end of June. I think I mentioned this in an earlier video or live somewhere. I'm keeping all of these this year. That way I can see all the progress at the end of the year that I've made, and I'm really enjoying that. So wherever I'm at on the 26th, that's the day we leave. That will be the end of June, and that will feel really good. But I am still gonna keep focusing on these for the next however many days, even though I've already filmed this video. Let's move in to quarterly goals. So as always, I make these videos every month where I talk about my action steps, how they went the month before, and what I've set for the upcoming month. If you watch these every month, the recap of my quarterly personal goals likely will not surprise you. Like, you can probably tell from the action steps and whether I've done them, how I'm gonna feel about each of these goals, but let's talk through them anyway, and then I will get to my business goals. So the first quarterly goal was to prioritize working out. Like I said during the weekly section, I feel really good about this goal. I struggled at the beginning to decide if I wanted to track things by day or by minute. I tried them both actually at the beginning. I've ultimately decided that tracking days or prioritizing quantity of days versus minutes is more important to me. And even though you're not gonna see it on my goals sheet in July, it is still something that's going to be on my calendar and a part of my life. The next quarterly goal was to spend less time on my phone. And I don't think I've done that. Like, I really don't think I have spent any less time on my phone. I think I have been good about getting off my phone at night. So that PM limit that I set earlier in the quarter, I think has helped a little bit. Like I said, my Instagram limit, I feel like I haven't, and that I think is a big culprit. I also have started playing more games on my phone that I think have become a big culprit, and then also morning scrolling on my phone. And somebody on a live said to me once that what they do is if they, maybe it was on a live or maybe it was on a comment of a goals video. Either way, one of you said that you let yourself scroll in the morning if you didn't hit the snooze button, but if you hit the snooze button, then that counts as your morning scrolling. And I kind of like that routine, so I might try that at some point. But overall, at the end of it all, I don't feel like I did a good job on this goal, so it's not done, and it's gonna be on next quarter's list. The next one was a consistent PM routine. And like I mentioned in the daily section, I feel really good about this one. I have always struggled with my PM routine because I'm not a night person. By the time I get to the end of the day, I am exhausted. That's even more true now that I have a little one. But at the same time, it's almost more important to me that I do some of these things in the evening to help set me up for the next day, because it really helps us start the next morning on a good foot, kind of regardless of how the evening goes. I also feel like it's been helpful, even though I am more tired, I have an anchor earlier in the evening that I didn't have before I had a baby. And so now I try to start my PM routine right when she goes to bed. Even if I'm not going to bed for however long after that, as soon as she is in bed, I do my PM routine. And that anchor has really helped it be consistent for me. Do I do it every day? No. Do I do every step every day? No, but I feel really good about that quarterly goal. The next one was to explore Chicago. And I do feel like I've done a good job of this goal, even if it hasn't been all the exact things I put on my list, right? So in April, one of my one-time steps was to make a list. And I made a list of restaurants, attractions, experiences, and neighborhoods that I wanted to explore. And I haven't done a whole lot of them. Like most of those things are still not checked off, but we've done a lot of things. We've gone to some new restaurants, we've gone to some new places. And so I definitely didn't think I was going to check off all of those things in a quarter. Like if I did, that was unrealistic of me to think that. So I still feel really good about that progress, even though I still have this whole list of things that I'd still like to do in Chicago. We're not planning to leave anytime soon. If like, who knows what the future holds, but we don't have plans to leave Chicago. And so I have years and years and years to work on actually executing this list. Go through photos on my phone. So even though this goal is ending on a high note, this one I definitely thought that I would get through all of it this quarter. And that is not even close to true. But I am making progress, and I feel like I have built momentum now with that goal, that I am somewhat carrying this goal to Q3, not as its own explicit goal, but you'll see that in my Q3 goals video. Make sure you subscribe. The next quarterly goal was to solidify my monthly and weekly tasks. And this one I also feel really great about, like really, really great. This feels like one of those things I've been trying to figure out for years. I feel like I've been trying to figure out this, how to do these recurring tasks that aren't, like that are just around the house. And I finally feel like I figured it out, and it feels really good. On the flip side, the next one was to implement a cleaning routine. And the irony is that those two things are very much intertwined, right? Some of those monthly and weekly tasks were cleaning related, like running the Roomba, washing sheets, etc. But I knew there were cleaning things above and beyond that list that I had created that I wanted to work on, and I didn't even start to touch that one this quarter, which is okay, because I feel really good about the monthly and weekly task routine. I feel like I've set myself up, and I'm in a very good place to add the cleaning steps to that routine. The last one, the last quarterly goal is that kitchen goal, and that was to build confidence with tools. And this is the one that I went off on about, that quarterly goal is the one I went off on about in the live. And so if you want more, and definitely more stream of consciousness, like me realizing things, check out that section of that live. But what it came down to was not fully understanding what I meant by the overarching goal. So my yearly goal, my annual goal in this category was to enjoy being in my kitchen, and that is still true. But building confidence with the tools in my kitchen wasn't going to add to that enjoyment. That does not help with my enjoyment. I thought it would, but ultimately that action step was not leading to that goal. And so the smaller action steps I was trying to pick within this quarterly goal were also not working. And it's fine. It doesn't mean that I failed. It just means that was not the right step. And so I feel okay about that. Like I feel this one didn't, I feel like, go well, but it didn't go well, and I still want to do it, right? Like spend less time on my phone. The photos on my phone and the cleaning routine are ones that I didn't go well, but I still would like to have to do. Whereas the confidence with tools is fine. Overall, if you're keeping count here, I would say half of my Q2 goals went great and the other half did not. I still feel really good about this quarter. I say this, I feel like every goals video, there is always also so much of our lives that aren't on this piece of paper. We took our first trip with our daughter, and we actually went on 2 trips, and by the time this video goes up, we will be in the middle of our 3rd. We went to 2 weddings. We saw 2 friends marry the loves of their lives. Loves of their lives, is that? I don't know if that's how you would say that. Yeah, loves of their lives, I guess. We celebrated our first Mother's Day, our first Father's Day. Like there's so much more that we did this quarter that isn't captured on this goal sheet. And so if what it means I did half, I feel good. I feel really happy about that. Let's move in to my work goals for the quarter. So first one, as always, is a revenue goal. And you have heard me talk before about how I feel about numerical goals. And I think that there are pros and cons to setting numerical goals. With personal goals, I think it can be harder and motivating to have numerical goals that you may or may not hit. And it really comes down to your personality. So I try not to have super numerical goals as an overarching goal, on my personal list. On my business list, I dipped my toe in numerical goals when I started using the HB90 system, and I feel like it worked a little bit, and then I kind of drifted away from them, and you will see in Q3 I am getting back there. But I was continuing to set a revenue goal because I feel like that's important in a business. It keeps moving you forward. And as per the instruction and inspiration from Sarah Cannon from Heart Breathings, she encourages you to set a good, a better, and best goal. So that is what I have done and what I do for my revenue goals. Obviously, I'm not going to share the exact numbers with you, but I will tell you that right now I'm kind of between that good and better goal. Last quarter, I hit the better, and that feels good. I did not hit the better goal quite yet this quarter. I still could hit it. It is still possible, but to just kind of domino effect into the next goal, I think the biggest reason that I didn't hit it is because I didn't launch the new merch until a week ago, as of the filming of this video. If I had launched that merch in April, I probably would have hit that better goal. And that's fine. That is what it is. It likely just means that my revenue in Q3 is gonna be higher than I had originally set out for the year. I set annual revenue goals, and then I've kind of been tweaking them quarter by quarter. But when I tweaked the Q2 one, I still had intended to launch the merch earlier in the quarter. If not April, at least May, definitely not the second week of June. So that is fine. But the good news is I checked off that goal. I launched the merch, so that one was a success. Now, I did not set a specific numerical goal for that launch because in my head, it kind of just wrapped itself up into the revenue goal. But I still think it could have been valuable for me to set a revenue goal or like a specific merch launch goal, whether it was order numbers or sales or something like that. But at the end of the day, to be totally honest, I love creating merch, and the new stuff I created that I launched this month, I love and am so excited about. It's not the primary income stream of my business, and I don't want it to be. I think the merch is fun. I think it reminds you to work on your goals and focus on your goals. And I have always just created stuff that I wanted, but at the end of the day, I don't want my business to be like a product business. So I'm glad that I checked that one off, and now we're moving on. All right, the next quarterly goal, the next two quarterly goals, did not necessarily go as planned work-wise. And going back to what I said during the personal quarterly goal section, there's a lot that happened this quarter that isn't found on these pieces of paper. And I also feel like I am constantly still trying to find my groove and rhythm as a new parent. I think I got a little ambitious this quarter thinking like, oh, my daughter is 6 months. I mean, she was 7 months going into the quarter. Like, I've got this. I know my routine, like, we're good. And if you've ever had a child, as soon as you feel that way, they're like, just kidding, it's time to change it. It's time to do something different. And I love that, and it's fun, and it's exciting, and it's the most magical thing in the world to watch her grow and develop. However, it also is hard to plan, makes it difficult. So I think I was a little over ambitious, and I definitely dropped the ball a little bit on some of these other business goals. So the first one was the monthly marketing promotions, and I did this in April and in May, and then I definitely dropped the ball on the ones in June and did not do a good job of promoting them, and it just is what it is. I don't really have anything else to say besides that. And that I'm going to try some different things in Q3 based on what I learned, right? That's a lot of goal setting, is I am constantly learning what works and what doesn't work. And even though I've had my business for years and I've worked full time in my business for almost 2, I'm still constantly learning about how to set goals and how to motivate myself within that structure and that framework. So this clearly did not work. And then the next one was to spend 30 task blocks on the sales pages. And I thought that by setting a task block goal over like get this exact sales page done goal, which is what I did in Q1, that this would work better. That did not work. And I actually spent 0. Now, what I will say is I kept procrastinating in April, and then I blamed it on who knows what. And then I procrastinated again in May and kept blaming it on things. And I was like, there will be time to do it in June. And there was time to do it in June this month. Like, I probably could have maybe not gotten 30, but I could have gotten some. But by the time we hit June, I had already kind of changed my mind about how I was going to tackle it in Q3. And so I definitely just like pushed it off to Q3, and it is what it is. So that is the wrap on Q2. All in all, I still feel really good about the progress that I made, even though it was not perfect and not always every day and all the things that I'd set out to do. But for me and my personality, I'm okay with that. I'm okay setting bigger, more ambitious, lots of goals, lots of steps, and falling short of that, but knowing that I still made a lot of progress, rather than potentially setting a more realistic, like lower number that I would for sure hit. Like that feels okay to me. So that is gonna be it for this very long video of my June and my Q2 recap. Stay tuned in a couple of days for my Q3 goals and my July action steps. But before we go, I wanna celebrate you. So I want you to share in the comments below what is one thing that you accomplished either this month or this quarter that you are really excited about and want to share with us. Let's celebrate in the comments. I want the comments to be full and full of wins. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, please click that subscribe button. I upload new videos every week focused on helping you achieve your goals. Thank you so much for watching. In days, and it was to do, I almost said the phrase ad nauseum. Why do I hate that phrase? I don't know what it is about, like, all right, moving on to the daily section.